Basically what we have here is a bracket that's being multiplied by a. Now in order for us to work with this, we need to first work with what's inside the bracket. But because we can see that b and c are not common, so they are not common terms for us to join them, so we are left with a bit of a dilemma. But there is a rule in which we use in order for us to calculate something like this. This rule is known as the distribution law. Now all this means is that the a, because it's in front of a bracket, that means obviously the bracket means multiplication. So all we have to do is take the a and multiply it by the b first, and thereafter we have to take the a and multiply it by the c. Now when we multiply a and b, we get our first term, which will be ab, and multiplying the a times the c, we get ac, and there is nothing further we can do with this two terms, so we leave our answer as is. So in this instance we can't do anything with the x plus y within the brackets. Remember, brackets first, as we know from BODMAS, and so thereafter we're seeing that this 2 is being multiplied by whatever is in the brackets, and we know we have to do them individually, the 2 times the x plus the 2 times the y. So if we multiply the first term, the 2 times the x, we are left with 2x. So completing our answer, we'll take the 2 and multiply it by the y, and we get 2y. Now looking at those two terms, there is nothing further we can do there because x and y are not common terms. In this next example, you notice there are minus signs. As we can see, there is nothing further we can do with the a and minus b in the brackets, so thereafter we will multiply by whatever is in front, which is the minus 3. So minus 3 times plus a, and that would give us minus 3a. And minus 3 times minus b, remember it's a minus times a minus, our answer will be plus 3b. Something that for you to know is that, remember, there is an imaginary 1 in front of the a and in front of the minus b. In this example we have minus xy times 6x and minus xy times plus 5y. So if we have to multiply the first term, look at it, we have a minus times a plus, so our answer would be minus, and remember it's minus 1xy, so there's an imaginary 1 in front of the xy, so it's minus 1 times plus 6, so we would arrive at minus 6. We've worked with the laws of exponents, so in this case we have x times x. Remember, when the bases are the same, they're being multiplied, so we add the indices, so we'd end up with x squared. This is how we end up with x squared. And then we have y, and there is no y but the 6x, so we just leave it as y. Now in order for us to get the second term, we have minus times a plus, because minus times plus 5, remember it's minus 1 again, so our answer would be minus 5. Then we have x times, there is no x, so we will just put the x down. And then we have y times y, so just like how we did with the x in the first term, we doing the same thing, we put y times y and we get y squared. Now just as we've done with the two terms in the bracket, I've presented now three terms within the bracket, and the same principle will apply. We will distribute to each term individually, so we'll basically multiply what's outside the bracket to each of the terms within the bracket. So we'll first start off by taking minus 3 times the 6, remember it's plus 6, so we would get minus 18, the first part, and then a to the power 1 times a squared, we'd get a to the power 3, remember our laws from exponents, and then b times, there is no b in the 6a squared, so we will just put down b. Now with the second term, we have to multiply minus 3 times plus 1. Now remember, the center term within the bracket, the plus ab, it means plus 1ab, so we have minus 3 times plus 1, we'll get minus 3 as our first part of the term, and then we get a times a is a squared, and b times b will be b squared. Now with the third term, it's minus times minus. Now notice it's minus 3 times minus 3, and that will give us plus 9, and then we get a times, there is no a in the minus 3b squared, so we'll just leave it as a, and then b times b squared will give us b cubed. Remember that b in the front of the bracket means basically b to the power 1. So b to the power 1 times b to the power 2 will give us b to the power 3. Remember, laws of exponents. This next type of question is a question that's often used by examiners. If you notice that there is a term that's being multiplied by the bracket, and that we know is distribution, but there is another term on its own, which is the minus 3xy squared. Z is on its own, so we need to first work the brackets as we've learnt it in BODMAS. So multiplying the xyz by the first term in the bracket, we have x to the power 1 times x squared, and that's how we will get x to the power 3. Then we have y times, there's no y in the x squared z in the first term of the bracket, so we'll just put the y down. And then we have z times z, which will be z squared, basically the laws of exponents yet again. Applying the distribution law and multiplying by the second term within the bracket, which is the minus 4y, we multiply those two terms. Remember, there is an imaginary 1 in front of the x, y, z. So it will be 1 times minus 4, and that's how we get minus 4. It will be x times, there is no x there, so we'll write the x down. We have y times y. Now y times y is y squared. And then we have z times, there is no z in the minus 4y, so we write the z down, and this is how we get our second term. Now remember, it's important for us to bring down the minus 3xy squared z, because this is part of the question as well. So we bring it down in our next step, as I've done there, and we look at the step that we have thus far, and let's see what we find. Now by looking at the three terms, we notice that they are common terms. The last two are common terms, they are identical. X, y squared, z is what they have as their letters. So basically we know like terms, we need to combine them, and this is a very common thing that shows up in questions set by examiners. So there's nothing further we can do with the first term, so we bring it down. Now that we've realized that the x, y squared, z, those two terms are identical and they are like, so we bring them together, and remember it's minus 4 minus 3. If you're not sure how to do this, punch this within your calculator, just put minus 4 and minus 3 and you get the answer minus 7, and then you write the letters as is because these are like terms, x, y squared, z, and there is nothing further we can do from this step, because if we look at the third step, they both are not alike, so we leave our answer as is.